So next is we have ORAN, end-to-end testing. We have the current documentation that was released last year. No, it's last I checked, this is still the latest, current version 4. This describes no, integration focus groups, test and integration focus groups, end-to-end test specifications. This is a bit of a lengthy document, but summary is if you have a component no or system under test, um saan siya ilalagay in this end-to-end testings no. Typically for Open Run, it's just gonna be this component dito sa yung second module no. And you have of course yung user equipment passing through the Open Run, and then you're gonna of course once you process it no, send it out to the 3GPP core no, and touch on other 3GPP services. Oops. And if aside from system no and interoperability testing, security testing is also going to be part of yung test and integration focus group. So sample here would be a description on that document on how and why no do we need to test exploitation of well-known vulnerabilities dun sa A1 interface no, or by the network layer. So again, since these are API calls, no, is the SMO's IP address accessible or routable within a certain infrastructure no? Let's say nasa user equipment ka no, and then could you actually see the A1 interface of the SMO or the near real-time break no, and ideally hindi dapat no, but that's baka may missing dun sa mga firewall configuration and routing information natin no, or hindi missing at dagdag. And if that's the case no, or maybe that's not the case, it's secure enough no, but for some reason if a threat actor is able to gain access to the environment and it could see the A1 interface and host no, could they actually do something no on it and compromise that box. So kaya blind exploitation na to parang since a lot of this would be running core operating systems then no, like Linux, likely not Windows no, but hindi ba properly set up yung Linux wherein someone could exploit a specific well-known vulnerability. So again, this is our not 0 days. These are maybe Linux or application vulnerability that has been known but hindi na patch ng operator no? Or ng vendor na when they deploy this system. So it's describing that yeah, if someone had access to the A1 interface, could they actually do some damage? Maybe not full code execution no? For this no, but maybe even a denial of service no, if they could flood that interface and do various requests, even trash requests no, just to exhaust yung resource no nung gumagamit ng A1 interface, then you might cause an outage kasi that would basically disconnect no the A1 interface from ORAN, and you won't be able to perform no, as intended. So here's some test procedures no on the exploitation of A1 interface over near real-time break no, by the network layers. So sample here is if you could see it no, or maybe you would intentionally no, put your test vulnerability scanners within the subnet no, of the A1 interface, and you have a list of well-known vulnerabilities, yung mga signatures and plugins nila, and then you have your common vulnerabilities na exposure list, no, CVEs, and document no, yung actual version ng vulnerability database sa signature natin for reference. Kasi when doing vulnerability scanning, you need to note what database version you are using. Kasi this specific database version might not or will not detect some vulnerabilities that would be released on, let's say, vulnerability database next month. No? So if sometime something happens no, and you said na, hindi, nag-test na kami yung security sa A1 interface no, using a vulnerability scanner, but when you saw the report no, the system was breached and the vulnerability wasn't listed dun sa test mo, you could go back dun sa time of test and then yung vulnerability database na ginamit. And you could also see, no, here, if you conducted the vulnerability scanning and you did not update the database kung ano man yung latest at that point, no, then that might not be the best approach. Kasi you are not detecting other vulnerabilities that was recently discovered. So like antivirus, even the vulnerability database needs updates. No? And for testing, no, you need to note that so that in case magkaroon ng deconflicting, no, in case something happens in the future, you are covered na. Yeah, I tested November 11, sabi ng vulnerability scanner database, this was the latest version nila at that time, then that would be easily traceable. Hindi tayo naging negligent on testing. No? But again, this is security testing, no? Not really yung mga load or interoperability testing, no? But it's part of the document specs, no? Netong ORAD na test and integration focus group na end-to-end test specification. So to sample vulnerability scan, no, would be if you have the IP address of the A1 interface, no, scan with port scan initially, no, TCP ports, all ports 0 to 65,535, and then UDP top 1,000 lang kasi this tends to be slow. You need to also, if the vulnerability scanner enables or has this feature, no, yung safe checks, disable it. Kasi test environment naman, so in case the A1 interface crashes, no, it should be okay, but at least you know that you could crash it, no, with some basic vulnerability scanning. And then while you're doing the scanning, no, you have some telemetry data or even load testing na kasabay. Could the scanning actually degrade, no, yung performance nung system? Ideally, hindi. No? The system should be able to defend itself. And most of these scans should be dropped anyway. No? So, wala dapat affect dun sa environment. And then, yung results, no, expected at least. Na once you have conducted that, yung telemetry mo is okay. You didn't have any performance degradation. And then, you need to measure, of course, yung throughput, no, as benchmark, no. And then, in case may, how do you call this? In case may degradation, you should be able to find out, diba? Kaya ba i-resolve to or should we just note it's an exception? Ito yung ano, medyo parang weird, no? Parang, if you do that, no, you are not actually wanting to identify, no, well-known vulnerabilities, no, out of scope siya for this test. It's, well, technically blind naman siya, no, so it's just someone, a threat actor, not really realizing kung ano yung ina-attack niya and then attacking it. That A1 interface anyway is not gonna be exposed to the internet or to a public network. So this is a threat actor na meron ng access, some sort of access within the environment. But he just doesn't know kung ano yung IP na yon na A1 interface pala yun. So blindly niya tinatry i-attack. And the metrics that they are after here is, okay, if an unknown threat actor with some access to the system and did vulnerability scanning, it should not cause meaningful degradation of service, no, and availability. Okay. So at least that's just one, no, and that's a lot. There's a lot of tests across networks and interfaces, which makes it basically a required reading for this course, and medyo mahaba siya. But interesting, no, on ano yung views nila and how to perform that test and unexpected results. So that basically is the meat of yung Open RAN interoperability course.